Let's talk about Tom Davies. Now that we are beyond the end of the season and looking forward to the summer, we're now thinking about squad planning. And so we're talking about some of those players who maybe haven't had the chance to shine yet in a Sheff United shirt. Maybe they've been on the periphery throughout the last couple of seasons, and now United have got a decision to make. Do those players stay? Do we give them more time? Do we try and get them involved in the club? Or do we cash in? We know we need money. We know that potentially we can get wages off the bill. Maybe we get transfers fees. So what do we do? Today's player that we are talking about is Tom Davies. So question number one, what do we know about Tom Davies? Well, Tom Davies is a 25-year-old English midfielder. He came through the academy at Everton and then he joined United on a free transfer last summer. Now, Davies played his full youth career with Everton. He joined the club at just 11 years old and he represented them at every single youth level before he signed his first senior contract with the club in 2015. Now, he made his senior debut for Everton in 2016 against Southampton, and later that season, he made his first start for Everton in a 3-0 win against Norwich, where he also got man of the match. Not bad. That's not a bad start. I think if I was coming in and I was going to play my first game and I won 3-0, got man of the match, I think that was a good start. But he didn't just stop there. He had a rapid rise through the ranks at Everton. Next season, when he was finally playing his first full season for the club as one of the senior members of the team, he began to shine. Now, he scored his first goal for the club in a 4-0 victory over Manchester City. That goal, his first ever professional, senior, whatever you want to call it, his first goal of the season for Everton. Okay, cool. So he won goal of the season. His performance in that game, he won man of the match against Manchester City. He also won performance of the season. Now, I assume that means that he was so good that day that they wanted to try and honour it. And at the end of the season, they picked that out as being the best individual performance of the season. That's not a bad start. He also that year, in his first full season, won their Young Player of the Year award. Now, that is a hell of a haul to get when you are only 18 years old and you are playing for the first time straight into the Premier League. No loans, no time in the Championship, no time anywhere else, just straight into the Premier League and shining just like that. Now, this fantastic start to his career led to Davies being noticed by numerous different clubs and different news outlets. The CIES Football Observatory referred to him as the 7th most promising footballer under the age of 20. He then, the next season, became the youngest player ever to captain Everton in 2018 when he was just over 20 years old, and he was nominated for the Golden Boy Award that year. That picks out the 20 best players under the age of 21. They are all nominated for that award. That is quite a pedigree for somebody at such a young age. Now, he has represented England at all youth levels, all the way up to the under-21s. He was part of the winning squad in the 2018 Toulon tournament. He captained England under-17s at the World Cup in 2015, and he also captained the under-21s as recently as 2019. So he was on a continuous rise. He was going up and up. He'd started his career fantastically. By the age of 21, he captained England numerous times at different age levels. He's won tournaments. He's been nominated for European awards. And yet, just 3 years later, he's joining Sheffield United on a free transfer. I think it's fair to say that something went wrong. Now, what was that thing ultimately? The answer is relatively simple and quite sad to hear. Injuries. Injuries combined with a loss of form meant that he just hasn't been able to get the game time that he needs to be able to develop the way that everybody would hoped he was going to. So in 2019-20, at the age of just 21, Davies played 23 starts for Everton in the Premier League, over 2,000 minutes. And you think, right, that's the springboard. You will now kick on. You've established yourself. You're a first teamer in the Premier League. But for the next 2 years, he sat on Everton's bench or in the sort of treatment centre. He played less than 800 minutes across 2 seasons. And that, combined with the fact that he was struggling to get his fitness back, maybe it had affected him a little bit mentally. He thought it was time for pastures new. And so at the end of the 2022-23 season, after almost 180 games for Everton, after 14 years with his boyhood club, he chose to leave them on a free transfer, turned down the offer of a new contract to see what options would become available to him. He spent 2 months as a free agent. He wasn't able to get with the club through pre-season. He wasn't able to do friendlies or any of the fitness training that comes alongside that. And eventually he signed with Sheffield United on a 3-year deal on August 16th, 2023. Now, I've made a big point about that because I think it's really important for what comes next. As we all know, Tom Davies barely plays a game for Sheffield United. I think across the season, he makes something like, I know exactly. He made 9 appearances for United. He played just over 200 minutes. And to be honest, from my perspective, it feels like he's not even got started as a Sheffield United player yet. We've not seen him. I can't judge him. I couldn't tell you what he was doing for United because he's just not played enough. And the reason I focus so much on his preseason and so much on when United signed him is that we didn't get him in the door. We weren't able to get him that preseason. We weren't able to get him his place in the squad, figure out how to play, figure out what his role in the system was. And that's why he's been injured all year, because he was never properly fit. He never got himself out of that sort of initial stage, and he was unable to kick on, unable to be part of our team. And so ultimately, another disappointing season. Another year wasted by somebody with so much talent. So what does that mean? What is next for Tom Davies? Honestly, who knows? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend I do. Because this is by far one of the toughest decisions that I think United have got to make this summer. He is without question. I went through all those accolades earlier on. He is so obviously talented. He is somebody who on his day would just be dominant in the Championship. He would be an outstanding midfielder in the Championship. I have no question about it. But he would also be one of the few players that United have got who is more than ready, more than capable to step up and play consistently in the Premier League. He's proved it. He's done it before. Imagine a midfield of 𝗍𝗲𝗄𝗏, Tom Davies, 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. That is a dominant midfield. That is a midfield that would be up there with the best in the division in the Championship. And that gives us such a strong position to be able to build from. But, his injury record, I've touched on it, and it's such a huge factor in what the rest of his career looks like. I talked about his best season. He played in his best season 22.5 full games of football. He played 2,000 minutes, and so the equivalent of 22.5 full games of football. That's less than half of a Championship season. It's barely over half of a Premier League season. And United cannot afford to be carrying passengers right now. We don't have the budget, we don't have the money, but we also don't have the quality, the squad depth to be able to say, okay, one of our good players will be out injured all season and he'll play every now and again. We just do not have the capacity in our squad to manage that. Last season was such a disaster. It was just a disaster start to finish. I was embarrassed week after week, and so much of that comes down to injuries and the fact that we just couldn't get our first team fit and able to play games of football. When we had a team that was competitive, we saw that for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, we could match teams in the Premier League. But when the fitness went, when we were tired, when we had to make subs or go into the squad depth, we fell apart and we got hammered. And we just can't afford to ever be in that situation again. And so, from my perspective, as a footballer, as a man, as a talent, I am desperate for Tom Davies to make it. I'm desperate for him to get back to his best. And I would absolutely love nothing more than to see him dominating and playing well again in a red and white shirt for United. But given everything else, the context, the club situation, the finances, the fact that he's struggled so much with injuries, I think we have to see what's out there, see if there is a market for Tom Davies, because given that potential, somebody out there might be willing to take a gamble. And I personally think that would be for the best for the club. It's a shame, but that's where I think we are. But that's only my opinion, and what we actually want is to hear from you. What do you think the immediate future should hold for Tom Davies? Do you want to see him trying to fit into that midfield? Do you think we should give him a proper pre-season to get fit and give him a right good go in the Championship to show what a talent he can be and really build him back up so that he's ready to be a key player for United? Or do you agree with me that maybe, just maybe, his time has come and we have to look elsewhere for players who are going, we know right now, players we can guarantee will play 30, 35 games next season, who we know are going to be able to contribute enough on the pitch that it's worth paying them for the talent that they do bring? Let me know what you think in the comments. Now, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for listening to this stream of consciousness from me. I think it's really important that we're talking about these players. This is part of an ongoing series that we're doing where we look at loads of players who are on the periphery at United and start to think about, start to have a conversation about, start to talk about what their future looks like in a red and white shirt. If you are enjoying this series, please do let me know. And all feedback is appreciated. Thank you so much for watching once again. Let's hope that it's a good and exciting and a busy summer, and we will see you soon. Up the Blades.